Hi again. My name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller. And today I'm going to be doing one of my monthly recaps. That's a good word to call it. My monthly recaps where I show you some of the higher dollar things that sold during that month. This one is going to be for the month of April. And I went ahead and chose $35 and up just because I had a bunch of sales that were $35. So I thought I'll just show all of them. And I'm going to be sharing all the sales for Etsy, which for Etsy, there was only three that fell in. Three that fell into that dollar amount. And then quite a few for eBay. So.
Are you selling your Poshmark showing your Poshmark and Mercari sales too?
No, because I don't sell on there anymore.
So you're showing all of them?
Yeah, exactly.
All zero.
None. Zip.
I'd like to point out that based on my schedule, this was supposed to be out like a week or so ago. But apparently Rebel's forgetful and, well, okay, me too. But this is June 11th. So we're going to try to have the next one out in time for when we're gone at the end of this month. And then we'll get the June one out in July and we'll actually be caught up.
First thing on Etsy that sold that was over $35 was this brass hawk / eagle figure. It sold for $47.65. This was part of that huge lot that we bought several years ago, and it took me a little while to get it listed.
That kind of stuff has made good money for us.
It has. We don't hardly find it anymore. I think people are realizing that you can make quite a bit of money with brass, or the companies are pricing it like $15 per piece and stuff like that. Out of our price range.
This was we found some for decent prices. You know, $1 or $2, 50 cents for the cheap ones, and then there was a sort of like a liquidation sale from something, and the guy basically looked at it and said,
"No, wait, right.
This stuff is I can sell this stuff for $5 a pound or whatever it was, and I want more than that, and I know it has more value than." So he bumped it up, whatever, but
we still bought a lot, and it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. It was a good buy. It's just not Rebel's favorite thing to list.
No. And for those of you who find it, I've had a couple of questions. Do I clean it? No, I let the buyer decide. Do they want to shine it up or do they want to leave the natural look to it? And I've had zero issues with that. This next item was actually in the high bid estate sale stuff that we won over 4 years ago. It was hard to explain what kind of doll it was. I don't even know if maybe it was handmade. I don't know. But it had toeless shoes. Like he really was like some kind of like a hobo from back in the day. But it ended up selling for $62.95. And then this also sold on Etsy. I picked this up at the Sasha Doll estate sale. I'm already forgetting how much I paid for it. I want to say $5 maybe. But it was a Lenox Canterbury Crossing spice jar from 1994. And it sold for $62.95 right after I listed it on Etsy. All right, and then eBay. Like I said, this is everything that sold $35 and up. This first item was a Sleepyhead Bear Lovey from North American Bear Company, and it sold for $35. Right. This was a rubber-faced duck that I had picked up at the bins back in 2023. Had it listed for quite a bit, and I'm at the point where this old stuff's got to go, and I got an offer of $35, so I went ahead and accepted it. This was some Free People women's bib overalls, probably picked up at the bins, sold for $35.71. Not a whole lot of clothes do we sell in this price range. These sold right after I listed them. I think I picked them up at an estate sale. I'm not remembering which one, but come to find out, I thought they were Glamour Girls, but they were actually called Dazzle Dolls by Mattel. And like I said, they sold immediately. $35.95. One of Robert's book pickups. This one was called The Elements of Fractional Distillation from 1939. Sold for $35.95.
I've got mine set up in the back shed. It's been pretty profitable so far.
My.
Just kidding. NSA, FBI, ATF, whoever. I think it's the ATF's in charge of that. I am not currently distilling anything. I have never distilled anything and have no plans to distill anything.
I picked this up at an estate sale. I want to say it was Bristol or Abington, somewhere a long time. Well, last year, the end of last year. And then I kind of got lost in all the doll clothes stuff. And I finally found it, got it listed. And this just one Cabbage Patch Kids gown sold for $35.95. Been lotting up my little people. This was a lot of 19 of them, and they sold for $35.95. Fisher Price Dream Dollhouse. Went to kind of sort of estate sale that had been going on for, based on the guy's comments, years.
It was like 5 for 1 and 6 for all, or 4 for 1 and 5 for all. It was
weird.
It was a crazy price.
I only wanted 3 of the vehicles, but I went ahead and picked up, I think it was 5 or 6 of them, and I just donated the rest. But this one Fisher Price Dream Dollhouse from 1993 vehicle sold for $35.95. I think one of the other ones sold for $30. So it didn't make it into this dollar-wise, but you know, I made $65 off of just 2 of them. I accumulate these from the bins. These are Kids 2 little alligator rattle plush. I think I had 2 of them listed separately and found a third one. Realized they were all 3 different sizes. Made one lot, and it sold in about 4 months, $35.95. Dakin 3 Theodore Bear Plush. It is musical from 1981. This was from the private pick estate sale that we went to back in 2023, and it sold for $35.95. Picked this up in Hannibal, Missouri at a thrift store. I want to say I paid like $12 for 3 different play sets. Inside of this van had been a ton of the little Micro Machine vehicles. I think I ended up selling 1 lot on Etsy and the other lot on eBay. But just this vehicle from 1991 sold for $35.95. Picked these up when we were down in Florida from my friend Shannon. Shannon gifted me this, what are they, rug yarn set, and they ended up selling for $38. Picked this up at an estate sale a couple of weeks ago. Well, beginning of April. It's the one we always tell you they had armed guards there. I paid $5 for it, and it is a Folkmanis boa constrictor hand puppet, and it sold very quickly for $40. This must have been a bins pickup. Not quite sure where I came up with the original price, but when I got an offer of $42, I tend to go back and look at sold comps that are like right now happening, and it seemed to be reasonable, so I just went ahead and accepted $42 for a Thai cat plush. This I picked up from my favorite little estate sale company. I think it was supposed to go to a dress, and it got disconnected, and I didn't know which one it was supposed to go to, so I ended up just listing the belt by itself. It is by St. John's, and it sold for $42. I probably paid $1 for it. This is SOS. I love that brand. It's a lot of times very realistic, but it stands for Save Our Space. This was an anteater, and it sold for $42.46. Animal Fair. I love that brand. A lot of it tends to not be as high dollar as I personally think it should be. It's just an amazing brand. They're more famous for the dog Plush, Henry, and all of his friends. But when I saw this, I just had to have it. It is called Babby or Bobby Lamb Sheep from 1975, and he sold for $44.95. Picked this up while we were down in Florida at the one of the thrift stores. It was actually new in the box. Tyco Kitchen Littles Pretend Food lot. I ended up breaking it up into several lots. I even sold just the box by itself. But this set sold for $48, and it was mostly, I think, kitchen breakfast stuff. Picked this up at the thrift store in Johnson City, the Habitat store. I want to say I paid $2 or $3 for it. It ended up working. It sold very quickly, $49.95. Never would I have ever thought that the Fisher-Price Little People Clip-Clop horses would be selling for as much as they do. I've been told it's more the Prince figures that are selling for a whole lot. I just happened to find one of these, and it sold probably within an hour of me listing it for the $49.95. LOL surprise. I actually ended up selling 2 lots of these to the same buyer. This first lot sold for $59.95. And I'm not sure. Yeah, the second one sold for $49.95. I had found some LOLs at the bins, and I just decided to take all of my lots down and form 2 big lots, and they sold very, very quickly. I'm doing that with a lot of stuff right now. Like today, I took down all of my Zoom Zooms, and I'm making 1 large lot, and we'll see how it goes. All right, we picked these up at a yard sale back in April. They sold very, very quickly. It was the complete works of Francis A. Schaefer. I think we paid $2 or $3 for all of it, and they sold for $49.95. Mary Meyer Sweet Rascals Cat Plush. Couldn't find anything like it. So I think what I tend to do if I can't find a price point on a plush that I think might have value is I'll go into either Terapeak or WorthPoint, and I'll pick a plush that's like the higher selling in that brand, and that's probably how I came up with this $99.95. It was listed since 2023, so when I got a $50 offer, I just decided make it gone. $50 for a plush is not bad. This is Brookstone Nap Blanket, kind of like a robe, like the Snuggles, I think is what they're called. My friend Courtney up in Connecticut turned me on to this brand, the Brookstone. There's blankets that they put out that has like a satiny edge around the edges. Buy it if you see it. They do very, very well. But this was a robe. I wasn't quite sure how it would do, and it ended up still selling for $50. Picked this up at the bins, y'all. It's in rough condition, but believe me, there were sold comps that were even more rough. If we had been able to find the hat that went to this, it would have probably sold for double the price, but it is what it is. This is all we had, was just the main base piece, but it is by Whammo, and it was like an outdoor toy water toy, and it sold for $53. Picked this up when we were down at the Peaches to the Beaches. Actually ran into a viewer there. Her name was Elaine. And I ended up picking up, yeah, it was like 2 base stations. I have sold this previously, so I knew what I had. It was made by Experts. It's like a classroom, like game show buzzer type thing. The person sent me a message saying that they do like a fall festival, and they use these for one of the games that they do. So perfect scenario for this. And it ended up selling for $53.95.
So you're saying it's an excellent thing to use for their games?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Robert grabbed this at an estate sale. It is All-American football player bobblehead. This one was pretty generic. I think there were specific teams that if you found them, they sold for quite a bit more. But this one sold very, very quickly on an offer for $59. Cinderella mouse lot. I knew these were special when I found them. I decided to put the two together, and they sold in about 4 months for $59.95. Department 56, Heritage Village collection, just figures and other pieces to the village sets. Sold, it took about almost a year to sell, but they did sell for $59.95. I like picking up Department 56 and Lemax. I think those are the two brands that do really well for me, but I don't mind picking up figures that don't have who they were, and I just kind of make small lots of them. Gund Blue Puppy Puddles the Dog Plush sold for $59.95. There's a couple of different sizes of these, so I think this might have been one of the larger ones.
I'm going to guess that a dog named Puddles probably didn't take to house training very well.
Probably not. All right, I was sad to see this go. I contemplated so many times keeping it, adding it to my own little cookie jar collection that I have upstairs on top of my kitchen cabinets. But I think I want to say I paid $1 or $2 at like a yard sale, bonus yard sale, when I was out running around with my sisters one time. And it was made by Bartlett Collins, had the little circus theme, really nice condition. I ended up taking an offer of $65 for it. Beyblades. I've got to say I love to hate them because it never fails. When I do these lots, I always get messages, will you sell me just this one piece? Or I just need that piece. No, these are just one of those things. When I make the lot, I make the lot. And it finally sold $69.95. This one was a surprise. Williams Racing Blue Hoodie sold for $70. I think this was a Ben's pickup. I'm pretty sure I remember Google Lensing it and realizing that, it was definitely something to add to the cart. All right, Peony Chinese coat jacket. This was a pickup Robert did. I think we paid $5 at an estate sale. Sold the same day I listed it for an offer of $80. Got really nice feedback. And I didn't realize this, but I should have, that it was actually reversible. So the coat could be worn with the teal green on one side, or it could be reversed and worn with the red.
So why do you take an $80 offer the first day you listed?
Because it went into a sale, so it was already marked down to what, 80 some dollars? 80.
10% sale, right?
Yep.
Is going to knock it down to $90.
Yep. And then if I send out an offer, that's going to be another 10%. So it would have been already down to 82?
81.
81. So why not, right? And turning $5 into 80, not bad.
And even without considering those two things, to me, you get 80% of what you're asking for the same day. Sell it, because if they don't like your price, they'll go buy it from somebody else for their price, and then you're stuck with this for another maybe 6 months. I don't know. Who knows how long it's going to sit there? They might be the one person that wants this thing in the next 3 months.
Yep.
Doesn't necessarily, just because you get an immediate offer doesn't mean it's a hot item. People have saved searches, and it comes up when something gets listed. That it might not be a hot item. It just might be there's one person looking for this thing.
This one, Just luck. I bought a box of like vintage looking kitchen stuff at an estate sale. I want to say I paid $5 or $10. Inside of it had some like Wilton cookie kits, cake decorating stuff. And this was down in the box. Just decided to keep all of it together. It all went in that little wooden box there. Not in great condition at all, but one of the things, I want to say the bottom book on the left, the treatise, The Art of Baking, was the thing that had the value of the entire set. Probably the wood box also for collectors. But it took a while. It took about, 11 months to sell, but it ended up selling $84.96. Just always look this stuff up, y'all, or you might just get lucky. All right, I've got several of the My Child dolls that I picked up at an estate sale. I saw them in the picture. I saw 3 of them in a drawer in a picture, and that was the thing that I went to that estate sale for that day, and there ended up being 5 of them. 5 of these dolls. They were $10 each, and just in this April, when I listed them, I have sold 3 of them. So the first one sold for $99.95, and I was getting message after message about the outfit. The outfit was one of the My Child doll outfits, and I think that also gave it a lot of value. And then this was the other one. She was $19.85 also. I always make sure I put the color of the hair and the color of the eyes when I'm listing these. This also was an original dress, even though the dress had discoloration. Her face was starting to show a little bit of puckering. I do not try to clean these. And, because the buyers who are buying these to probably resell at a whole lot higher or add to their collection know specifically how to clean them so that that face doesn't get all messed up. The Playmobil, this was one of the first, I think I've got 2 sets in this listing in that month that I sold. I just made these huge lots. I had 4 or 5 totes full of small pieces. This particular set was just a whole lot of little, and it sold for $100. All of this fit in a 12 by 12 by 10 box. Here's the other doll that sold, and she actually sent me a picture. If I can remember, I'll have Robert pull up the picture she sent, that she's already redid the doll and sent me a picture of it. And that happens quite often with these collectors. They send me a picture of the doll finished and dressed. She also sold for $100. This is kind of up here, but only because I sold 2 of the Janie Katz metal art sculptures to the same person. She did pay $59.95 each. So it would have made the listing, but because it was the total value, I just kind of kept it here at the end. It ended up, the whole order was $139.10. I think she's paid like $119. This was one of the first Sasha dolls to sell. This one actually had some issues, like the head had collapsed, but I guess he was highly sought after nevertheless, because he sold for $129.95. And then this, let me tell you a story about this. This we picked up at an estate sale. Robert found it in the basement, in the dirt behind where the water heater
was. Like a crawl space area.
Yeah. I cleaned him up the best I could, but he definitely had issues. He had holes. He had a stored smell. I put all of that in my listings. And he sold for the full price, $129.95. The buyer opened a did not receive case, even though it showed delivered. So I won that case, and now he's actually opened up a case with his bank. So who knows how that's going to end. I know I'm covered under the seller protections with eBay, but it was a really nice sale, but it's just kind of been dampened because this buyer just, and I feel bad if he truly did not receive it.
I understand the buyer's frustration if they didn't actually get it, But as sellers, we can't really be held responsible if stuff is stolen from their place.
Yep.
It's not fair to us to be held responsible for that sort of thing.
Yep. And if you get those messages, you know, be courteous, you know, apologize that, you know, they're probably having a problem with their order. You know, remind them that all packages have GPS tracking. They can go to their post office and ask exactly where it was tracked to. And, you know, just fingers crossed, you know, that it does arrive. Sometimes we know the post office misscans them also, and usually it appears a couple of days later.
Or the mail carrier is busy trying to talk to the auto shop about the repairs on his other car, and he gets distracted and puts it in the wrong mailbox. So check with your neighbors. I had a package that was supposedly delivered but wasn't. Got it straightened out, but I checked with the post office on it, and they went to the GPS thing, and it showed, said that's not where your house is. It's like, no, our house is here, and it showed that it was scanned, you know, down the road a little bit from our house. And they said, oh, he probably scanned it early on the way to your house. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But they know, I mean, it shows exactly on the road, where on the road that package had been scanned.
All right, and then the best sell was another one of these Playmobil lots. This one sold at my sale price. It was, I think this is probably the best lot. I tried to pick as much of the castle as I could because I know that one is one of the highly sought after sets. And it sold for $134.96. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it's giving you ideas of things to be looking for when you're out at yard sales, thrift stores, estate sales, because this, and you know, hopefully you have a bins near you, because this is where I am sourcing this stuff, you know. Nowhere's, you know, nowhere special, just luck that, you know, you end up finding stuff, and just knowing what you're looking for and what you have found really makes a big difference.
Why are you lying to people? We have a secret museum of vintage toys that we get all this stuff from.
Yeah.
We break in at night and take their stuff.
Yeah. I have a secret source.
Yeah, the bins, yard
bins,
sales.
yard
Not
sales.
too many yard sales lately because they've been a little rough this season. But we have a church sale starting tomorrow that we're really hoping to get to. The other one's Saturday.
Yeah. He said that one.
Tomorrow's just Thursday, so we got one tomorrow, one Saturday, and the one on Saturday we've had good luck at before. And they're serving pancake breakfast, so
That'll work.
I'm going to have to smuggle in some peanut butter. Because I'm sure they're not going to serve peanut butter with my pancakes there.
Nope. It's got to be a Missouri thing. I've never heard of that in my life. All right, y'all. Get to work. Bye.